Welcome to Your Speaking Matters, hosted by Rick and Carol Durling. Each of the episodes of this podcast is an attempt to try to unravel the secrets of effective speaking and helping people develop additional social skills as a result. We also strive to bring interesting guests in, and today we have a special guest. Our special guest is Mike Carter, who has been a District 28 member of multiple clubs. He is a friend to Confident Communicators, the sponsor of this broadcast, and he is a seasoned member in many, many ways. Mike is an invaluable asset to District 28 and all the clubs that he touches. So we are really delighted to welcome Mike to our podcast. Now, I'm going to introduce a little bit about him so you know what's coming. He has taken on many challenges as a leader in District 28. The most recent challenge he took on was leading a team for aligning clubs and divisions and areas that will be part of the new District 216. And I can tell you that I'm excited about what's going to happen by bringing together so many talented people into what is going to be an absolutely dynamic district. So Mike, I really do appreciate your efforts with regards to pulling that together for everybody. And welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Rick and Carol, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really a pleasure and honor to be able to be present at one of these podcasts and actually be the subject instead of the listener.
Well, based on our conversations leading into this and preparing for this, you've got a lot that you can share. And I'm eager to pick your brain, as it were, for some of the things that you've picked up out of Toastmasters.
Yes, we're happy to have you.
Absolutely. So Mike, let's start with this. I know you've had a lot of different roles, and I announced one of them, but you've been a lot of different things in District 28. So what all have you done supporting District 28?
Wow, what have I done? There's lots of things that go unseen, which is sort of how I prefer it. I had started my Toastmasters career some years back and had the crazy desire that I wanted to become a public speaker, and was told by several people who were getting paid to be professional public speakers, because I asked them, what do I need to do if I want to follow in your footsteps? And they said, well, go knock out Toastmasters. It will teach you everything you need to know so that you can become a professional speaker. Through that, I had joined a club that was a rather small club, and I was really the only new member, so I had a lot of speaking time with a great mentor, Dulcie Renault, who was a two-time district director. That really helped shape me for future leadership, little did I know. I then was invited to go to the district conference, which I had no idea what I was going to, but it was maybe $150. It wasn't a lot of money to go learn from people who were doing what I wanted to do. I spent the money, I went to the conference, and at some point in that conference, there was an election, and they asked everybody to stand up and raise their right hand and swear to support the new district officers. I thought that was a great thing, and I participated. Little did I realize that I had raised my right hand and sworn that I would support the district officers. And when called upon to do so, I remembered those words, and I'm a guy who does that. So soon I found myself as an area director, a division director, and let's say a lot of other things. I did actually have the opportunity to speak an extended training session that I presented at a district conference later in my career. And that helped me figure out what I wanted to do. So I really had a lot of leadership early on. Eventually that led to being selected. I say selected, I was elected, had the opportunity to serve as the program quality director for District 28. And that position is making sure that all the leaders within the district have an appropriate training within Toastmasters guidelines so that we can deliver at the club level what we hope is the Toastmasters program. We can only hope. We provide the training. We can't force anybody at the club level to do anything, but it was a big task. I had a great time, and District 28 was recognized by Toastmasters International that year. I got one of those few acrylic trophies that said, hey, we received our, and I can't even remember the title of it, but the Program Quality Directors Award for having achieved a distinguished district.
Rock.
On the program quality side. It was a big deal. I didn't realize it at the time. And then the next year I was the district director, because that's what was needed and pretty much how it falls in line. And then the next year I was supposed to be the immediate past district director, which is a position within Toastmasters. There's always someone who's got the knowledge, who steps up, and of course fills the gaps whenever they present themselves. Unfortunately, that year, that gap did present itself when our elected club growth director had to bow out, and I can't remember the circumstances. I'll just leave it that they could no longer fill the position. So suddenly I backed my way into club growth director. We did all right that year, but unfortunately that can throw a wrench in your plans, and it wasn't as good a year as I had hoped. But that's a lot of things that I do in front. There's little things like, you know, those burgundy Toastmasters pens you find at a contest once in a while. Those are a gift from Mr. Carter. I've been buying those for a number of years. It's just, if you're a professional, you buy tools for what you believe in. And I believe that handing out an ink pen that says D28 Toastmasters is really a good investment in our clubs all across the district.
So I'm going to jump in here. Basically, just for our listeners, a lot of what you have been doing has helped you develop leadership skills. And I think that's one of the strongest characteristics of Toastmasters. If you want to develop your social and speaking skills, absolutely. And the real key behind it is social skills and speaking skills lead to being a better leader. And you get the opportunity to develop a lot of leadership skills as well through all the kinds of things that you've done. So, you know, I know that you have turned some of that leadership skill into your social life as well, into your own personal life. And you'd mentioned Boy Scouts and getting pulled into being a leader in Boy Scouts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And I believe this was before I was even in Toastmasters, which was one of those skills where you really don't have it. I was a volunteer leader for Troop 86 and had been a Cub leader. I'd done all the Boy Scout stuff because I'm the father of 4 boys. And I went through a lot of different trainings, but one of the exclusive trainings they have for leaders who show performance above and beyond is called Wood Badge training. It's a special 2-week course in leadership development. At the time, I was not maybe the most sensitive individual. I was put on a team with, I believe it was 5 or 4 other members, but we were a team. There were other teams, and we were the Antelope Patrol. We had a lot of fun and had a lot of challenges. The second weekend when we got together, the leader pulled me aside and kindly put her hand on my shoulder and had explained to me, the other members of the patrol are about ready to vote you out. They cannot stand the way you always seem to have the last word. There's always something you have to say, and it's really getting to them. And I bit my tongue at that point because I could at least listen well enough to hear, don't say anything because this is what you've been doing, is talking too much. It was a valuable lesson for me, but it didn't strike me and really hit home until I went back to the Toastmasters leadership training as well. And when I had gone through a lot of Toastmasters training at the district level, LaShawn Bowers was the district director. I was the club program quality director. David Clark was the club growth director. And David is an introvert. I learned about introverts, but I really didn't understand them. And through this training in Toastmasters, they had explained when you deal with an introvert, they're the kind of person that will hear the question. Exactly. They will stop and think. I don't work that way. They will think, and it really hit home when Dave Clark is at a table with us and we're all given a question and it's going around the table. And David hears the question, pauses, and then says, go around the rest of the table. I want to think about this some more.
Wow.
And small mind, big explosion. It didn't hurt anybody. But my mind was blown because here was actual visual evidence for me of a man who thought before he opened his mouth. I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. And I'm still learning a lot about how to keep your mouth shut before you open it. Have a little cogent thought. It helps. For those of you who talk too much, take that at heart. And for those who don't talk too much, you see, I can tell Rick wants to talk and I'm still talking. I'll stop.
Well, I just want to share a little bit of my experience. I think Carol wants to say something as well, but my experience is when you're dealing as a leader, learning those characteristics, some of those are not easily discoverable on your own. And that's where you get a lot of value out of Toastmasters in a leadership program. Carol?
I just wanted to ask Mike, after all that, what was the most fun you've had in Toastmasters?
Wow. This may turn into a shameless self-plug. I think I want to hold that off. There's this Tall Tales contest coming up on Saturday, April 11th, that Detroit Rocks is hosting. Mm-hmm. Now, I have emailed you that flyer so you can look at it because it's a Tall Tales and storytelling contest. When District 28 leaders were sent to this mid-year training, it happened to be in Minnesota. The year that Minnesota was hosting, yes, the Super Bowl.
Oh, boy.
The entire town was purple. And if you know LaShawn Bowers, she is all about purple. Well, we're not supposed to talk about what happened in Minnesota, but let's just say there's this Paisley Palace out there.
Uh-oh.
And you're going to have to hear the Tall Tales contest to get the rest of the story. But I had a great time with LaShawn, Christy Stalker.
Oh, boy.
So there's some stuff that maybe should have stayed quiet, but it's coming out in a Tall Tales contest, so you won't know if it's really the truth or not.
I always heard about the Tall Tale contest. Haven't made it there yet, but I think what a great thing for a club to do.
Yeah.
Let's all just tell lies and have fun.
Yeah.
But you get experience laughing and speaking, more importantly, and sometimes when you're in that situation and you're asked to tell Tall Tale, you might forget you're speaking and just have fun. So I think it's a great program. Absolutely fabulous.
I'm going to jump us forward a little bit onto another topic I really wanted to spend a little bit of time. Mike, you've spent a good deal of your career with Toastmasters. You've been the person who has done district realignment multiple times. I got to believe that the District 216 realignment was also an additional challenge. I can't even imagine, and I've looked at what you pulled together, and it looks to me like it's very well put together. And just talk a little bit about the team that you had and how you got them to do what I like to refer to as storming and forming. Because I know you had quite a large group of people, because you have to have representatives from each of the areas in divisions that are coming together. So talk a little bit about pulling that team together, because that's a key leadership skill.
I was honored to be picked as chairman for the district alignment, or should I say realignment. While you say, hey, you've served on committees before, I've been division director before, and the division director is part of the district alignment committee. Most division directors don't know that when they sign up for the job of division director, but it says it very clearly in the protocol, 7 point whatever the heck it is, that the division directors of the current divisions are part of the committee, and that committee is led by a chair who is a past district director. Now, this District 216 has 3 different districts combining, and it's not all of District 11, just their Division A, but still a significant part of Indiana is joining District 216. And then you've got District 62, which is the entire rest of Michigan, except the western part of the UP, but everything north of, say, Flint, even further south than that. I think you guys are the furthest north club at Competent Communicators. So everything north of, where are you guys?
Washington Township, Romeo.
Washington Township. And everything west of Brighton was District 62. And that's Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo and all the way up to Traverse City. And if we can form a club over in Alpena, we'll do it next year. It is a huge swath of territory. Yep. But the job is to take the division directors who are existing division directors. So there were 8 divisions, and getting them to agree that they were going to serve. And no, there's an option where they can say, I will not serve that position. I've got too much on my plate. And we had that with one of those division directors. And she recommended, and her district director both said, well, this area director will work fine. And so those names are all on that committee report. I have 8 different people that helped make that whole thing happen. I couldn't have done it without their input. But scheduling a time, when does it work for everybody? You know, there's never a good time, but we made it work to the best we could. And I can say that the first meeting, like you say, a storming, forming, norming, that's what I learned in that wood badge course. Those were the leadership trainings they gave me, and it was okay. So we met together first, getting those people to even say. I had one division director who said, I don't know anything about alignment. I can't do this. And I said, welcome to the club. Neither do I. We can learn this together. And she bought into that, and we did. And I think she learned a lot, had a good time. It built her confidence. And that is really what you always are trying to do when you're in a position of leadership. It's not about me. I didn't do a whole lot other than help the team form. And when we formed, the brainstorming came on. And so we've got all these clubs. How do you decide which clubs go to which area? How do you decide which areas are going to which division?
Yep.
And Toastmasters International was kind enough to say, here's a spreadsheet of all the clubs and all the areas, and good luck. Figure it out.
You're on your own.
Oh, and that's the essence of leadership. I mean, from my perspective, what you were given was go cut down that forest. The forest being, in this case, figuring out how this was all going to fit together. And now you got to get everybody around that mission, and then you've got to get them to actually do it, and then you got to bring in the resources. And I suspect that you've gotten quite a bit of experience, not just from the Boy Scouts Wood Badge, but also from your experience and what you've learned in Toastmasters to get you to that point. So I'm kind of pulling that together because we're getting close to the end of our time. We got about 3 or 4 more minutes that we could talk about the different things. So I'm going to open up the floor. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss as part of this? We've covered leadership. We've covered some of the roles that you've taken, and again, thank you for all of your efforts. Is there anything else you'd like to cover at this point?
First and foremost, I would be remiss to not mention that I, of course, before I took on the job, talked to my mentors, both Marilyn and Al Albee, who suggested that I talk to Vera Johnson. And Vera was really my guide because she loves district alignment and knows it. And so she was instrumental in helping guide me and make sure that I was coming through with a product that would be acceptable at the very end. But it was with this team of people and mapping and all the other stuff that came out. Several members were key on that. Some members not so much, but everyone got on board and said, yes, we like it. So as far as the alignment, I pray to God that it gets well received when we have the District 216 conference on April the 20th. And everyone listening to this, if you've got an officer in your club who's a voting officer, please have them attend. We need a quorum. Other than that, I will say that there's another conference, the 18th and 19th of this month, that you want to be at. If you are hearing this and there's still time, sign up to get to the District 28 conference. It is the last conference District 28 is ever going to hold. And we've got, I believe it's 76 or 77 years of history that we're going to celebrate. We have some excellent workshops put on by excellent speakers that have already been qualified as people that you really want to hear. You're going to have a hard time deciding which one of these do I want to go to. We have a keynote speaker who's coming in, who's past international director, and I'm not going to try and say his name because I will do it a disservice. You'll hear about him on another podcast. Be at the conference. You will have a good time. Like I said, maybe it's $160 or $199 now because the prices have gone up on everything. When I started, it was years ago. But for $200 to get to attend something where not only will you hear this international speech contest, have a great Friday fun night and a humorous speech contest, great food, all your meals are included in that price. There's so much good stuff. You want to be there, I promise.
And I can attest to the fact that this will be an absolutely bang-up conference for District 28. And if you're at all thinking about it, it's a great place to find out what other members say and do in Toastmasters, because there is so much skill and talent in District 28 and in District 216. So at this point, we are pretty much out of time. So Mike, again, thank you for participating in this podcast. Carol, is there anything you'd like to add? And then I'll do my closing remarks.
No, I vote also, go to the conference. It's a great way to meet people and hear some great speeches. Just do it. And fun. And
if nothing else, you'll come out of it hearing who District 28 is sending on to continue in the Toastmasters International Speech Contest. And you never know, they may very well be the single individual who actually makes it to the finals, which would be absolutely awesome to see one of our members on the stage at the International Conference in Vancouver. I am going to wrap this up by once again thanking all of the participants in this podcast, and especially On TV for providing us with an absolutely outstanding facility and excellent support to make these podcasts possible. A shout out to everybody who has been on here, and especially to Mike. So let's play that famous music that we use to mark the end of our podcast.